On Sunday morning, February 21st, diners at the Cactus Patch restaurant in Moore Park, California were treated to an impressive display of vintage motorcycles. The event was the Southern California Norton Owners Club annual Ojai Pilgrimage, which is a 35-mile scenic ride from Moore Park to Ojai, where riders enjoy the motorcycle collections of Guy Webster and Mike Taggart. This year's ride drew an impressive turnout as over 100 people showed up on a variety of motorcycles, from the classic to the modern.
Grimes Canyon.
Presiding as the master of ceremonies, Club President Bill Bibiani handed out directions to make sure nobody would get lost on the ride.
You're welcome to it if you want.
Then it was time for the riders to strap on their helmets and goggles and kickstart their vintage bikes, or get a little help from a friend, then shift into gear and head out to Ojai to enjoy two impressive motorcycle collections. Upon arriving in Ojai, riders gathered in the parking lot of Guy Webster's museum to share stories about the ride or admire each other's motorcycles.
I don't know what it is about this. It's like a 58 Chevy.
Once inside, riders were treated to the country's premier 1950s Italian racing motorcycle collection. Guy Webster has been collecting motorcycles for 40 years, and his current collection, which numbers 60, focuses on small displacement Italian racing motorcycles.
We rented this facility so we could share the bikes with more people. When it was at my house, I could have maybe 100 or 200 people. Here we've had 500 or more people in one day coming to see the collection. They're all racing bikes made for the street because the Giro and Milan-Toronto races were all on the street. So you had to run lights. So I have about 25 Giro bikes here in the collection. Very rare. Many of them are one of one, one of two, one of four, one of 8. To give an example, some of the bikes are so rare that you tell a biker, oh, I have a Deville or a Devil. Never heard of it. They're so rare. One of my Gilera bikes for the Giro, there were 6. There's only 1 left, 5 were destroyed. And some of these bikes I looked for 25, 30 years to find. And my Perilla race bike, I waited 15 years to get the guy to sell it to me. My Gilera over here, the number 5, I waited years to get that bike till people were ready to sell. So that's the kind of collection I have now. Very rare, 1 off, 2 off, or something like that.
After enjoying Guy Webster's collection, riders walked a few doors down to visit with his friend Mike Taggart, who also has his own collection of vintage motorcycles. With a focus on British motorcycles, Mike Taggart's museum acts as an interesting complement to Guy Pearce's Italian collection.
It started about 8 years ago with one bike, a Harley Sportster, and then I started buying bikes. So I bought one here and I bought one there, and before I knew it, there were too many for my driveway. So I rented this garage down here. That was about 8 years ago, and I've just been going ever since. My family originated in the Isle of Man, and we're of Manx and English ancestry, and so English bikes are my interest, and these are almost all English sports and sports racing bikes, which is my cup of tea, as they say. The core of the collection are the Gold Stars, the BSA Gold Stars, the 500. I got 8 or 9 of them over there. And then I started going to the other bikes, and I wound up having a little bit of each, Nortons and Triumphs and Matchlesses. Okay. And the garage is just about full now, so I'm pretty close to the end. I have one bike being restored for me that's not here, but this is about it for me. I'm getting too old for this. Just for my pleasure to come down here and look at them. I come down here, and sometimes on a rainy day I just spend the day here looking at them. And when you get this many you lose sight of the individual ones. But every now and then, the guy that works with me here, Mike Bowen, will take one out in the driveway and start it and polish it, and that the old passion that made me want it in the first place comes back. It's all in here, but it's all subdued because there's just so many bikes. There's that passion, that desire to have every one of these things that was there when I bought it, or I wouldn't have bought it. And but it gets subdued, and when you take them out in the sunshine, it all comes back. And fortunately, that happens about once a week.
Although Mike insisted that his collection is finally complete, soon after, he was smitten by another motorcycle parked in front of his museum, a custom Honda Cafe Racer.
As I said, I'm pretty full up in here now. I got one bike coming, but on the horizon, I don't see anything, except a guy just wrote a beautiful custom-built Honda in here, and I'm interested in it. So, you know, if there's something out there that interests me, which isn't hard to do.
We'll check back with Mike and see if he bought that Honda. Reporting from Ojai, California, this is Bruce McCown for the Moto Channel.